Hello. It is Wednesday. Coffee with the pasta. All right. So let me get on the right screen here. I don't have any unusual. Well, I have some announcements, I guess. And if you're gonna replay this later, as people are signing on, is of course share and like this, like it and share it out. It's, two steps. It's not too hard. Prayer requests and or testimonies, praises in the comments. Share them with the rest of us. That would be cool. Um, I was preaching at Granite United Church on Sunday. I spoke 5 services in total over 4 day period. Hey, Phil. And that was wonderful. There was hands raised and decisions. I would think in at least every service, every Saturday and 3 on Sunday, and the fifth one was a videotaping, recording. I don't know. What do you call it now, Mr. Brown? The Browns, Colleen. How are you? Um, yeah, so it went wonderful. I hope you were praying for me. It was just great. I did an invitation with each service, and just hands raised and decision. It was just wonderful. And it wasn't part of the original. Hey, Gail. You saw Steven. Well, you were blessed, huh? This Sunday, a couple of announcements to remember. This Sunday, I didn't plan this. What was the original plan for July was I was going to speak this past Sunday, which I was called away, and Brian filled in. I heard he did a great job. And then this camp this week for our teens, and so that's always a wonderful time. But in this week, Bill has gone, Nathan, Carolina, and Stassi, the baby, has gone. If you have Facebook and you're friends with them, she has little noise canceling headphones so she can sleep. I just think that's a riot. Hey, Shannon, and so at any rate, the plan for July was I speak the 16th, which didn't happen, and then Bill's going to come back from camp because Bill is stepping down as our youth director, and fortunately, he has brought along the Woundies, and they are just stepping right in. I've already talked to them. There's an overlap here, and this is Bill's last camp, going with the teens, and Nathan and Carolina and Stassi are there as well. That's impressive. She got special permission to bring the baby, and our kids. Long story, but anyway, Bill's supposed to speak the 23rd when he gets back. He'll be exhausted, so make plans, invite people. He will be exhausted, but I told him tell some. He's going to stay with our series. I believe he's doing the letter to the Philippians, and he's going to hopefully tell some great camp stories. Be in prayer for our teens as they're away. Christian camp has been like a major environment for many Christians, many faithful Christians that I know today. And so be in prayer with them. There was a little snafu. We raised some money with the pie auction. If you remember that, a lot of money came in for that, which was outstanding. And they rented a 15-passenger van, and at the last minute, they left Friday. I believe we found out Thursday. That no, they didn't leave Friday. They left Monday. So we found out Friday, at least I did, that the 15-passenger van that we rented was obviously rented out before and was in an accident, so we couldn't have it. And so we ended up buddying up with Granite United because they had 2 school buses heading that way, and they pretty much had half a bus left. And so they said, just come with us. And so they're a great church to sister with and just network with. And so our kids went with them. We had 20 going with leaders. They had 70 going with leaders. And so we have around 90, obviously, if you do the math real quick, just between our 2 churches. But from what I understand, there's about 13 churches represented out in the Word of Life campus, which is new for us, which is about 4 hours away. And there's about 450 students at this thing right now. And so be a prayer for our, I think 17, there's 3 leaders. So 17 of our teens are going. Few of them are seniors. Just be in prayer for them. Again, just some of the most faithful people I know. Camp was a huge environment for especially these key years that they're making life decisions and are at crossroads. And So anyway, hi Andrea, hi Tim, and so let's be in prayer for that. So be in prayer for Bill. I didn't tell you this part. I got called away. My friend Russ Greenwood had something happen that he's kind of involved with. Hey, Vicky. And I kind of volunteered as he told me the situation that he's involved in right now, and things were planned. And I said, do you need me to come? Because I know I want to be here for Bill, but my friend needs a little coverage. So I said, well, I'm going to preach the message I have preached now 7 times. And he said, oh no, I would love that. And so I won't be here. So be in prayer for me in Brookridge, but be in prayer for Bill. Be inviting, fill the place for Bill. Honor him. He has put some great time in with. He has really been an influence on our teens, and he should be honored for that. And so I will try to do something special for Bill. If I can't be here, maybe I'll do a video intro. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But again, please just be here for Bill, honor Bill, and I think it'll be a blessing. And then a week from Sunday, ready? A week from Sunday, you won't see me for 3 weeks. A week from Sunday is the 30th, and Stephen Lucas, who everybody seems to love, he goes way overtime, and no one seems to even mention it. I just want to throw that out there. I'm a little hurt, but hey, don't you worry about me. Anyway, I want you to know I did a message this weekend for 32 minutes. It can be done. I just don't do it here. Anyway, on the 30th, Sandy and I will be away for our anniversary is the 29th, 34 years. And so be in prayer for us again that week. And again, be inviting. Steve does a great job. So, yeah, I'll be gone for about 3 Sundays. So all said and done. But I'll be back. So, be good. All right? Just be good. Pastor's taking a sabbatical. Yeah, I'm going away for the weekend to write a book. And I've decided I'm going to write a book on marriage, parenting, and the ministry. And the title I'm going with is, I don't know. Vicky, what part of the universe are you currently traveling through? Oh, no, this is Deep Sea. This is the Flying Sub. I bet you remember that show. This is the Flying Sub from the Sea View. All right. We won't be here this Sunday as we're on vacation. From what? Okay. Well, have a good time. Have a good time. I'll be away. If you're somewhere near Haverhill, come by and see me. I'll buy 5 copies. You can do the forward if you want, Phil. All right, let's get into our study. We're in chapter 1 of Nahum. We did like an intro last week. And let me get you a Bible. There we go. And I'll pull up my Bible so I can see it. And this is chapter 1 here. I'll even prove it. This is chapter 1. We looked at it a little bit last week, just a couple of verses. There it is, Nahum, so you can trust me. New Living Translation. This is the message concerning Nineveh came as a vision to Nahum, who lived in Elkish. All right. And so we said last week that this isn't judgment on Nineveh necessarily. This is more of an encouraging, hopeful message to Judah. God's finally answered your prayer. He's looked at your enemy. Now, again, I love this part, and I want you to never forget it, is Nineveh is, we just went through Jonah. Jonah goes to Nineveh reluctantly. The whole city repents, but it was 150 years ago for Nahum. And it seems that they've gone back to their old ways after repenting, and God relented on the judgment in 150 years, which I think is pretty patient, don't you? I think we're going to see as we look through chapter 1 that God, sometimes he'll look at something and he's gracious and he's loving and he's merciful. But if we abuse that, then he comes full force. And I think we need to really focus on the justice of God instead of just he's going to let everything go and he's just looking the other way. And he's not. He's just not. And again, when I mentioned it last week, why doesn't God just take care of all the evil in the world? Well, here in this passage, he is. So you can't have it both ways. Well, that's not very loving that he's going to wipe out the Assyrians. Well, they're evil. but you just wanted God to get rid of all the evil. And when he does, we complain about that. And when he doesn't, we complain about that. God's just going to do what God's going to do on his timing. And you might want to just get used to that idea because he is Lord. All right. So we said that with the each one of these chapters, we're going to there's 3 chapters, and we're going to look at one aspect about God and one aspect about Assyria. Well, here's the Nineveh will fall. There's judgment coming. It is so plain and simple. I don't even hear unless they, no, they're just going to be gone. And he goes into detail describing how gone they will be. They are so wiped out by God that their city in the debris, and the archaeologists don't find Nineveh until I think it was 1842. 1842. It takes all that time. When God does something, I love. A while ago, I read a book. Critics like, well, I don't know about the story about Sodom and Gomorrah, just because they've never found it, because God destroyed it. Makes perfect sense to me. So anyway, so we have Nineveh will fall. That's what we know about Nineveh in chapter 1. And the other thing about God is jealous. And here in verse 2, the Lord is a jealous God filled with vengeance and rage. And I said, I want you to think about that for a second, because jealousy is sin. But how can God be jealous then? And it's not the only time in the scripture that God is described as jealous. And so we'll talk about that in a second, if time allows. And let's see, he's filled with vengeance and rage. He takes revenge on all who oppose him and continue to rage against his enemies. The Lord is slow to get angry. Aren't you glad for that? He's slow to get angry. I would say, according to Nahum and Jonah, he's about 150 years slow getting this off the ground. And he never lets the guilty go unpunished. Did you see that? That's a promise from God's word. He never lets the guilty go unpunished. Make sure we're not one of the guilty. He displays his power in a whirlwind and a storm, and the billowing clouds are the dust beneath his feet. And at his command, the oceans dry up and the rivers disappear. The lush pasture of Bashan and Carmel fade, and the green forest from Lebanon wither. In his presence, the mountains quake and the hills melt away, and the earth trembles and its people are destroyed. Who can stand before his fierce anger? That would be a rhetorical question. No one would be the correct answer. Who can survive his burning fury? Same. His rage blazes forth like fire, and the mountains crumble to dust in his presence. The Lord is good. Oh, look at that. Did you hear how it's all mixed together? But the Lord is good. Let's just shove that right in there and remind you. The Lord is still good. A strong refuge when trouble comes. So you know what that says? And we're going to see that as this continues, this book, Nahum. That he's going to talk about wiping out Nineveh. And that sometimes can come to the forefront. And we just look at it and go, whoa. But then it's just interjected there again. This is written to Judah. They're psyched that Nineveh's going away. And the Lord is good and a strong refuge when trouble comes. Well, guess what? Trouble's coming by God's design. Trouble's coming, but don't you worry, Judah. It's going to be okay. So again, when we start to whine and complain, and we do, about everything that's going on, not only in our country, but around the world, for one thing, it gives credibility for me personally that the Bible's true. I think Jesus is coming any second now. And I think we're just stupid to sit around and fret and worry. And that manifests itself in, I'm just angry. Yeah, no, you're just scared out of your wits. Let's admit it. And it's scarier than it's ever been. It's crazy. It's crazy out there. But again, gives Bible credibility. You read the Bible, we're exactly where we're supposed to be, and Jesus is on the way. I really believe that. So, but he's a strong refuge in trouble. He's close to those who trust in him. That preaches itself, doesn't it? He's close to those who trust him. Do the Ninevites trust him? 150 years ago they did, but today, no. And they were known throughout history for being violent. So let me catch up on my notes. Verse 2, the word, oh, no, I'm not doing that. Verse 2 is where we find out God's jealous. We'll check that in a second. But verses 8 to 13, but he will sweep away his enemies in an overflowing flood. He will pursue his foes in the darkness of night. Why are you scheming against the Lord? I'm sorry. I just listen to a lot of stuff and a lot of debates and atheists and stuff just to see if I can answer questions if ever I am questioned about certain things. We have a whole cross section of our culture that is questioning and scheming against God. What are you going to do? I think their problem is not that they don't believe in him. I believe there's a light that lights every man. Every man knows. They know. And there's a funny old saying that God doesn't believe in atheists. But why are you scheming against the Lord? You don't have a chance. Your view of God is this big, and he's much bigger than that, and you don't have a chance. Well, what if you're wrong, Pastor? Well, then I'm you. I mean, when I die, nothing happens. But if I'm right and you're wrong, that's a big difference. He will destroy you with one blow, and he won't need to strike twice. Again, when the Lord destroys something, he doesn't just keep beating it. He just does it once. All right? He does it really well. His enemies tangle like thorn bushes and stagger like drunks who will be burned up like dry stubble in a field. Who is this wicked counsel of yours who plots evil against the Lord? Again, there is a whole cross section of our culture. This is what the Lord says. Now, look at quote. This is what God's saying. Quote, though the Assyrians have many allies, and that's throughout, I'm finding in the Old Testament especially, God's people try to align themselves with all these worldly cultures, and we still do it today. And through the Assyrians have many allies, they will be destroyed and disappear. I don't care how many friends you have, what strength you think you have in your alliances, you're going to disappear. That's not hyperbole. You're going to be gone. You're going to be gone off the scene. Oh, my people. Oh, now who are we talking to here? This is Judah. I have punished you before, but I'll not punish you again with the Assyrians. Now I will break the yoke of bondage from your neck and tear off the chains of the Assyrian oppression. That sounds pretty permanent. All right, so verses 8 to 13, Nahum describes the fall of the city with two pictures, a great flood of water that sweeps everything away, and a fire of dry thorns that burn like stubble. And I'm sorry, with just all the weather we're having today, water is a very powerful thing. I mean, it actually can sneak up under you and wipe away all the dirt and everything caves in, or it can just come in like a deluge and just wipe you out. Water is a very, very powerful thing. I've seen it recently. I have some friends who had some flooding, and it's like, wow, it just their backyard was gone. It was big crevices, and they were in danger of their septic tank being uncovered because there was no dirt anymore. The water came through their backyard like a river and just wiped out everything. It was crazy. And so that's just fresh in my mind. All right, note, Nineveh did fall because of floodwaters. Now, historically, outside the Bible, extra biblical, it says it's been known in history that Assyria did fall as a result of water. The Medes and the Babylonians were going up against and besieged the city for many months and made little headway because, again, very fortified city. Then the rainy season came, and two rivers next to Nineveh began to rise, and the floodwaters beat against the thick walls of the city and broke them down. Nahum 2, let me see. Who stands before this? Who can survive his rage blazes forth like a fire, and the mountains crumble to dust. That's the wrong verse. Where is it? Oh, my head. I put the wrong reference down. I hate when I do that. There it is. But verse 8, but you will sweep away his enemies in an overwhelming flood, and he will pursue his foes in the darkness of night. So again, historically, water came up, the two rivers nearby, overflowed their banks and took their walls down. And when you have enemies waiting outside the walls, it just got ugly from there. God does not need armies. He just needs raindrops, somebody said. One historian says that the Medes broke one of the dams on the river. And no matter how it happened, God told us before it happened, that's what makes him amazing. And so then he gives two promises in verse 7. There we go. The Lord is a strong refuge when trouble comes, and he is close to those who trust in him. He assures them of his goodness and tells them they will be safe so long as they trust him. That's leaning. We're trusting. We're believing. It's faith. And those are all interchangeable words. We're trusting God at his word, which is faith. That's the definition of faith around here at Bay State, is trusting God at his word is faith. And he said, listen, I'm going to be close to those who trust me. You trust me? I'm going to tell you, I'm going to take care of this enemy. They're going to be gone. And I'm going to do it with water. and he does. All right. And verse 12, we reread it. Let's read it again. This is what the Lord says: though the Assyrians have many allies, they will be destroyed and disappear. O my people, I have punished you before, but I will not punish you again. And so he assures them that he will not afflict them again with the Assyrian armies like Israel. Remember the northern kingdom? They were pretty much wiped out by the Assyrian army. But Judah, this is written to Judah, and this is good news of hope for them. Yeah, I'm going to wipe out your enemies in such a way that you're going to get scared, but I don't want you to be scared. I will protect you. I will take care of you, and I will make sure they never bother you again. So no matter what the difficulty may be, we can trust God to take care of us and see us through. All right, now let's read the last couple of verses. And this is what the Lord says concerning the Syrians and Nineveh. You will have no more children to carry on your name. See that they get wiped out. I will destroy all the idols in the temple of your gods. Remember, 150 years prior, they trusted in God. They repented, the whole city. And I'm preparing a grave for you because you are despicable. Why are they despicable? Because they went back to their violence, and they went back. This is fresh in my head because I've done a message on it the last few weeks. Depends what church I am, but all the same message is that, you know what, we need to be careful. But those of us who have taken on and prayed the prayer and accepted Jesus Christ, don't take that lightly. We need to get beyond justification and get into sanctification. I just learned that, and my friend Russ's thing is that justification, you're declared just as if you've never sinned. And then sanctification is kind of like living up to that and growing into that. And then glorification is when we get to heaven, and then that sin won't be a problem anymore. But we can't take sin lightly. But I've mentioned it before, and it's fresh in my head, and I see it all the time, is I wouldn't even dare tell you what some of the sins are, because I can't get 3 Christians together to agree on what sin is. We can't. Let's make a list. What is sin? And well, I think that's a gray area. And we also try to, I've seen it over the years, and I've pretty much been asked, not these words, but the connotation of some of the questions I've been asked in the ministry is, well, Pastor, is this a sin? If you have to ask, avoid it. But if it is a sin, usually the next question has something to do with, well, how close can I get before it's sin? How about we get as far away from it as, because God, Jesus, the Father, they take sin seriously. And we need to too. All right. Russ, I could not agree more. Most underrated superhero of all. All right. We'll destroy the idols of their temple. Now remember, these guys, 150 years had turned, but then they turned back. And I think that's what upsets God. And I think that's what makes him jealous. We'll get there in a second if I have time. Look, a messenger is coming over the mountains with good news. That would be Nahum. And he's bringing a message of peace. Celebrate your festivals, O people of Judah, and fulfill your vows, for your wicked enemy will never invade your land again. They will be completely destroyed. All right, so Nineveh will fall. We got that. Did you see that? That was pretty clear. All right, but this word, God, the Lord is jealous. Jealousy is... I have a piece of paper about this, so I could read it and make it better. The idea is jealousy. If you look it up in an English dictionary, excuse me, I haven't got my voice back from Sunday yet. Jealousy is when somebody has something and you want it, and you're upset that they have it and you don't. That's not what's going on here. God, when it says God is jealous, it's because there are certain things that belong to him, and people are using them for other things. Worship, for instance. You notice idols were mentioned. Well, worship belongs to him. And when someone else is using it for something else or someone else, he's a jealous God. Is he wrong? He's not. He's not like desiring something. He's taking possession of something, which actually what I was reading, and maybe I'll read this whole thing to you, is the idea is if I get jealous of my wife because someone thinks that Sandy should be their wife, I'll get jealous. Is that right or wrong? Well, I'm sorry. I was here first, and she's mine. She's mine. And so is it wrong that I get jealous? Now, how I handle that and anger and all that stuff, that's different. But I'm not desiring someone else's stuff, and I'm not upset that they have something I don't have. I'm upset that someone is taking something that's mine. And so that's why the Lord is jealous. All right. It's important. I'll just read this to you. It's important to understand how the word jealous is used. It is used in Exodus 20. That's where you'd find the 10 Commandments. 10 Commandments? Yes. To describe God is different from how it's used to describe the sin of jealousy, which you'd find in Galatians 5:20. When we use the word jealous, we use it in the same sense of being envious of someone who has something we do not have. A person might be jealous or envious of another person because he or she has a nice car or home or possessions, or a person might be jealous or envious of another person because of some ability or skill that other person has. My friend Russ is here. He can play the keyboard. I'm jealous of that. I don't know if that borders on sin. I could take up the keyboard. He won't help me though, because he's just not nice. Just kidding, Russ. Another example would be one person might be jealous or envious of another because of his or her beauty. In Exodus 20, verse 5, it is not that God is jealous or envious. That's another verse that says God is jealous. He's a jealous God because someone has something he wants or needs. That's not what's going on. In Exodus chapter 20, verses 4 and 5 says, you shall not, this is a quote, you shall not make for yourselves any idol in the form of anything in heaven above or on the earth beneath or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God. Notice that God is jealous when someone gives to another something that rightly belongs to him. I hope you're catching that. So in these verses, God is speaking of people making idols and bowing down and worshiping those idols instead of giving God the worship that belongs to him alone. God is possessive of his worship. I think I've been told, well, you're very possessive of your wife. Yeah, she's mine. And she's very possessive of me. I've seen that over the years. I'll tell you what, she may give me a hard time a lot of the time. Don't mess with her. Matter of fact, if you mess with me, you might have to answer to her. She's very possessive. Is that okay? I think it's okay because we made that commitment. God is possessive of the worship and service that belongs to him. It is sin, as God points out in the commandments, to worship or serve anything other than God. It is a sin when we desire or we are envious or we are jealous of someone because he has something we do not have. It is different use of the word jealous when God said he is jealous. What he is jealous of belongs to him. Worship and service belong to him alone and are to be given to him alone. Ooh, I hope that helped. Next time you see that God is jealous, because some people love to pull that out of their hat, like, woo, yeah, see what happened? And, oh, come on. And remember, the Bible is written so we'll understand it. So just be careful of that, okay? Let me look at you. Got a couple minutes. Oh, hi, Lee. I was about 5 minutes away from them today. Oh, is that right? You know what? In Haverhill, in the Granite United campus in Haverhill, they're going to have a one-night Warriors thing. They're calling it the 5th session because we had 4 sessions at Warriors. I'll get that date for you. And it's soon. I want to say it's in August, like the first week. I think it's a Wednesday night. And so I might go to it. I think our church has been invited to go. And they're calling it the 5th session. It's designed for the guys who went to Warriors. That'll be the 5th session because we had 5 up there at Waterville. It's also designed for those of you guys who couldn't get off your butt and come with us. Come to this one session to get a taste of what Warriors Conference is like. So I highly recommend it. There's also a Shine one. I can get you that. That's the week before, I believe. It's on a Wednesday. So again, maybe I'll announce that again. And this, look at that. I left Lee speechless right there. Let's see. I can't be better than everything. Well, you definitely are a better keyboard player than I ever dreamed of being. And someday we'll combine all our talents and impress nobody. Oh, no problem, Vicky. That's what I was hoping. Oh, Warriors. See, Phil's interested. I'll have to get that information. Maybe I'll. Well, I was asked I was told at a meeting that I go to that Bay State can come along and do that, and I'll bet money, even though Russ skipped the meeting, I bet he's invited with his guys too. Oh, you were 5 minutes away from our kids, Evan Steele. That's cool. You know what's cool is when they used to be at Gordon or even up at Monadnock, as the pastor, I'd go up in the middle of the week, see how they're doing. I'm not going 4 hours away to say hi and then turn around and go home. And it's probably good because my daughter's had it and no one wants to be Brian Spicer's daughter. So, out in the woods. Well, I hope you're coming back. You're welcome, Lee. Thank you for tuning in. It is 8:01, guys. I think that was a lot of information. A lot of, again, be in prayer for me. I won't be here Sunday because I will be at Brookridge helping out my friend Pastor Russ. And then on the 30th, all right, this Sunday, Bill's speaking and he's stepping down from being youth. So he's probably one of the last times, if not the last time, he'll be speaking here. You need a boat to get to the, oh, stop. Anyway, so Bill will speak after, so he's going to be tired, so be in prayer for him, be in prayer for me on Sunday as I represent Bay State, another church, helping out. And then the 30th, which is a week from Sunday, Stephen Lucas, my son-in-law, will be speaking here at Bay State. Always good. He's very good. There's been talk that he should be the pastor. And I'll be away with my wife celebrating 34 years of marital bliss that weekend. Our anniversary is actually the 29th, that Saturday, if you want to write that down, and we like big gifts. I'm just kidding. All right, thank you, Vicki. I appreciate it. And we'll be praying for you. I appreciate it. There's a lot to pray for right now, but this is all good stuff. Steve, my son-in-law, Steve Lucas, he's been out at 2 churches helping out filling pulpits. So I kind of look at that as the Bay State is just out there doing, I think, what one of our things that we're good at is helping and coming alongside. And I have a couple of unspoken requests that were given to me by some people that were just pretty devastating things. So keep that in prayer. God knows, okay? After you retire. Oh, is that when, Steve, it's okay to be pastor? Well, we're going to have to take a big offering for me to retire. So I'll tell you that right now. All right. Good night, Shannon. Love you. And see you guys. Have a good rest of your week. And I'll be in prayer for you. You'll be praying for me. And that would be right. Love you guys. Bye.